everybody, welcome to Active Self-Protection. Actually, we're at SHOT Show, and look who I ran into. I know we had a back and forth with the armed attorneys about trauma kits and stuff, but I want to introduce you to these guys if you haven't seen their stuff. I watch them every day, and I want you to meet them. Palm pepper spray has recently reformulated for even more effect when you bless the deserving with the hot sauce. Palm is what I use between a harsh word and a gun, and encourage everyone to do likewise. Well, not every day, I suppose I don't watch, because you guys don't put out a video every single day.
No. We don't. You know, silly thing, we're still trying to actually have jobs. When this thing is a lot more fun, we should just do this full time.
Right.
So maybe we'll get there one
Unfortunately,
day.
Probably can't pay the bills on it yet.
No, not yet.
So, Emily and Richard, the armed attorneys on YouTube, right? What made you guys decide to launch a YouTube channel?
So, I mean, our mission is born out of necessity, kind of, to tell you the truth, because we were answering so many gun law questions so frequently. And this all started with the pandemic, and there's this rumor started that you couldn't carry while wearing a mask. Well, there's there's probably some county in Illinois where maybe that's the truth, but it started this giant snowball effect where we were answering 120 questions a day at our law firm.
Are you kidding?
No, Texans saying, hey, they're telling me I can't carry. And so we thought, man, I wish we could disseminate this information faster so we don't have to answer the same question over and over.
Sending people links on YouTube.
Exactly right. And it kind of started there. That's where the idea started.
Well, and the wonderful thing about gun people is they want to follow the law.
Right.
They're really, really cautious. I mean,
well, some of them do.
So it's nice, you know, there's a want for good, accurate legal information, and it helps us keep other people safe.
Yeah.
Very cool. So it's kind of interesting because, of course, if you get two lawyers in a room, you've got 5 opinions, at least, right? And do you guys? I've seen you guys in your comment section pretty regular.
Yeah.
Does it drive you nuts?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, and it's funny because Emily and I don't agree, you know, a lot of the time. So I think it makes for a good discussion because that's all. And I think a lot of people forget what lawyers do. All we do is advocate. You know, I don't control what the judge does.
You're just a professional arguer.
Yeah. I don't tell the jury what to do. I give them ideas. I tell them what I'd like them to do.
Right.
And so I do think that makes for a good conversation format.
Yeah. So before the pandemic, was Second Amendment advocacy and Second Amendment law a big part of your practice?
Yeah, absolutely. We have our traditional practice, I suppose, is working in legal defense for self-defense. So
okay.
You get your handgun license, you talk to someone about sort of whether or not you need self-defense insurance or carry insurance. So that's been our bread and butter for a long time, you know, representing people on murder cases, discharge cases, and, you know, wrongful death, right? You get sued civilly too.
Well, and guys, so I tell people this all the time, like when they go, well, I mean, is this a big part of law? And I'm like, look, you gotta understand, like, the law is so broad. Criminal law is such a small part of law.
Right.
And self-defense law is such a small part of criminal law. It's like most attorneys, they just don't think about this part of law at all.
No, you could probably count, I mean, there's not a whole lot of Second Amendment lawyers. First off, lawyers generally hate firearms. You know, our profession is overwhelmingly leaning to the left. And so we're left with this select few or small group of people, and then out of that group of people, even fewer, you know, like firearms or practice in this area, so.
Well, I know, so we were talking offline, and Emily, I know you said that that's the home you grew up in, right? An anti-gun home, and that wasn't how you did.
Yeah.
And so what made you change your mind?
You know, it's funny. I had to become a criminal prosecutor first, and I had to see what happens when people are unarmed, when people can't defend themselves. And you know, the unfortunate part is that criminals are actually really smart. I think that we like to, you know, we like to trick ourselves into thinking they're just sort of these, you know, bumbling sort of guys who don't think and just crime a lot, and you can avoid it if you're smart. But really, they know their targets. They know when to pick on you. They know who to pick on. And you know, for someone, I mean, think about a woman in particular. I can't level the playing field without the firearm, and so you know, it started there for me.
Wow. You know, I also think it's funny because, of course, Houston makes a not inconsiderable part of the main channel that I do.
Yeah.
But I don't think people understand why. First of all, Houston Robbery Division has a YouTube channel. And if they have an unsolved robbery, they put it out on that channel, any surveillance they have. So I'm subscribed.
Right.
And so it's a lot of good content. It's good lessons that show up. And then, you know, we see the same thing. A convenience store robbery in Houston isn't any different than Philadelphia or Detroit or San Francisco, really, in some significant way. But you're right. Those guys, why are they put out so many? Because they don't get caught. Because they don't have you know, I don't know, what's the murder clearance rate in Houston? Is it the same as the rest of the nation, around 50%?
It's gotta be.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
And you know, we practiced as prosecutors in Galveston County, and it was low down there too. I mean, you want to commit a crime and get away with it, go find an island somewhere. I mean, it's
Okay.
It's the end of the road.
It really is.
So, what has there been a difference as you guys? I mean, you guys got a couple 100,000 subscribers, yeah?
I think we're close to about 160, a little over
160.
Yeah.
That's a sizable YouTube channel. It's in
Yeah.
the top, you know, few thousand channels in the world. Has that led to people recognizing you out in town more, or?
Well, at SHOT Show, I will say we've been recognized.
Yeah.
You know, but it's great.
Okay, this is a weird community,
yeah,
right?
This is a weird
Yeah.
community. I will say, yeah, I've been recognized a couple times. Have you been recognized?
No one cares about me. It's all about Richard.
Oh, come on. That's hogwash. Literally everybody in the universe is like, yeah, okay, but in the looks department, clearly, Richard, you lose. I'm just saying.
It's all right. I'll take it.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm interested in that too. Emily, do you feel like that's? Do you feel like you have an uphill battle as a woman, as a lawyer, in terms of earning respect, especially in the Second Amendment community?
Unfortunately, yes. And you know, I think Second Amendment people are as open or more open to, you know, a woman advocating for them as anyone else. It's just, you know, the criminal law world in general is tough. There tends not to be a lot of women. It's a bloody, disgusting world. And you
Well,
have
I
to-
mean, kind of by definition, right?
Right. You know, you have to be comfortable with, you know, looking at pictures of someone's brain matter and skull on the ground. You have to be comfortable with potentially crimes against children. And so there are a few women who do it. You got to be really tough. And it does lead to a little bit of an uphill battle. But I think that gun people are incredibly polite, wonderful people. And I found fewer problems than I would have anticipated.
Good to hear. I think, so, you know, the CEO of ASP, Stephanie Widener, is, you know, same thing, firearms instructor, and, you know, a female CEO of a fairly major company in the industry. And she's generally had pretty good success. But there's always that odd duck that you're like, really, dude, it's 2023. Maybe you could chill out on that a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, girls can do things now, you know? So if you guys had a one misinformation, one bad thing that you're like, I wish every gun owner would stop, what would it be?
I mean, for me, it's you got to stop talking to the police. And I think a lot of gun owners, we have this instinct to help. You know, we're all reasonable people. We're all want to do the right thing. You know, when you're involved in these critical incidents, most of our clients, for example, have never been exposed to the criminal system before.
And the process is the punishment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the system treats you the same as a 25 to life, you know,
Oh, yeah.
repeat offender. And so I don't think they can conceptualize that because, you know, you make a statement to 911, you make a statement to the patrol officer that shows up, to a sergeant in front of his car, to a detective. You know, the chances that you recount the events identically at the same time every single time, it's zero. Yeah.
Zero.
It's just not how our brains work. We're not, you know, recording devices, and we're not trying to be deceptive or hide the boss. That's just how our brains work. And so, you know, I think it's really important to, you know, refresh a lot of people's memories. Don't talk to the cops without an attorney present. And
Yeah.
let the attorney be the person who is the gatekeeper. They decide when to disseminate information or if they should disseminate information.
Well, and I think that's actually a good point because, so if you have an attorney-client relationship, right, they can dump it all over you.
Oh, yeah.
And you go, no, tell me everything, dump it all over, give it to me raw and unfiltered, even the bad stuff, I don't care, I need to know the truth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then, okay, now here's the things that we can say and here's the things that we can't, and I can make a statement for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or-
And what people forget too is, you know, they want to whitewash it for the attorney. Well, I know, you know, I watched the self-defense videos,
Right.
and I know what's going to sound good. When realistically, the physical evidence is what it is. And
Right.
if what we're saying doesn't match up with the physical evidence, we're in big trouble. So the whitewash story, that's not for me. That's what we
Wait,
give
you
later.
mean you mean clients lie to you?
Yeah.
What?
No, I can't.
It's, you know, unfortunately, I mean, it's a significant problem, but that's what we're here for. We can figure out the hard stuff.
Don't talk to the cops. Don't, just without an attorney present. Just get an attorney and then tell them everything.
Yes.
And give it to them. All right, well, how about you, Miss Emily? What would you say?
You know, just most people who have been carrying for a long time are really responsible and wonderful. I would say new carriers need to remember that the firearm does not solve your problem and it does not win an argument. Because when we get real loser cases, that's what we're getting. And it's generally someone who's been carrying less than a year.
Okay.
It's the first time they've been scared, and it's more of a, I'm a little bit threatened, and this is an argument stopper.
Yeah.
And that's tough. So particularly if you're new to carrying, remember that that is your last resort, because that's what the jury's going to be looking for. If you're in a stand your ground state, if you're in a state with
Yeah.
good, strong self-defense laws, it doesn't matter. The jury wants to see that it was your last resort.
Well, and that you were being reasonable, and
Absolutely.
you know, a gun doesn't solve all your problems. It's literally a single issue solution.
Oh yeah.
And if you use it as a sword instead of a shield, especially as a private citizen, you're gonna do time in Huskow.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, and we've seen that. We have one in Phoenix not long ago, ongoing. Guys sees a bunch of skateboarders at a church, and he's mad at them. Gets out of the car. They're like, "Leave us alone, dude." So he draws a gun. I want you guys out of here.
Right.
And then, crazy enough on that one, there's a news crew, you know, that's at that church, like doing a news story on this whole thing, and he drives up, and they stick a camera on him, and he talks to him.
Oof.
And he's like, I know when to use a gun, you know, all that stuff. And they're like, oh, really? What charges are you facing? Oh, I'm 3 designated felonies right now. And I'm going, why is he talking to the news? Holy cow! So listen, I think, and even listen, you know, we're gonna have differing opinions, right? So, all right, you guys think one way on trauma kits, I think a different way. I want to get through the fight, and if I got to talk to the attorneys about why I had a trauma kit, I will, because I'd rather not bleed to death.
That's fair.
Okay,
Fair.
I get it. But great information coming out on their channel all the time. So I've linked them in the description. Go check them out. Emily, Richard, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks
Thank
for
you.
talking to us.